The Public News Service Daily Newscast, November 19th, 2020. I'm Mike Clifford. Coronavirus cases across the nation are spiking at alarming rates. New data from AARP shows nationwide nursing home infections are no longer declining. We get some perspective now from Kentucky.
Advocates are calling for increased transparency, staffing, PPE, and testing. So far, 1,095 long-term care facility residents and staff in the Commonwealth have died, totaling more than 65% of all COVID-19 related deaths in the state. Long-term care ombudsman Sherry Culp says facilities should start communicating now about how they'll help residents and families stay connected and safe during the holidays.
So facilities need to be planning now for increased phone calls, increased video chats. They need to be preparing if someone wants to drop a holiday gift off to their mother.
Culp notes that over the past 4 weeks, residents and staff cases have begun to tick upward. Yet AARP's findings show that in every state, nursing homes are experiencing shortages of direct care workers and PPE, particularly N95 masks, gowns, gloves, and eye protection. Nationwide, more than 91,000 residents and staff have died from COVID-19. I'm Nadia Ramlagan.
City elections in St. Louis will change next year after residents approved a nonpartisan primary system, what's known as approval voting. Chris Raleigh of the Center for Election Science says voting reforms get heavy focus in coastal areas, so having Heartland residents endorse this approach is a big deal.
They're sick of bad elections and bad government like anybody else.
People skeptical about approval voting say that voters might be tempted to use ballot strategy by second-guessing, adding other choices so they don't harm their preferred candidate. The center says no system can fully guarantee a majority winner when there are more than two candidates. Climate action programs are outlining their priorities for the 2021 legislative session in Oregon. Eric Tegedoff explains.
In the previous two sessions, Republicans have walked out over a carbon pricing bill they say would disproportionately hurt rural Oregonians. Next year, groups will look to other areas in the fight against climate change. Oriana Maniera with the organization Verde says one of its top priorities is a statewide energy standard.
We're not just looking at 100% clean energy and building a path to a clean energy future, but also building in some of these other elements that address justice in our energy system.
Lawmakers convene in Salem on September the 19th. In an already challenging year, advocates for sexual assault survivors in Ohio are grappling with major funding cuts.
The state's network of crime victim service programs and agencies relies almost exclusively on funding from the Victims of Crime Act, known as VOCA. In 2019, VOCA grants decreased by 25%, and for the new fiscal year, funding is cut nearly 40% across the state. Taylor Ucker-Lauderman with the Ohio Alliance to End Sexual Violence says that's about $20 million fewer dollars, and Ohio was left to pick up the pieces.
We've built some amazing programs around crime victim rights, around forensic kit testing, around law enforcement strategies. Ohio never was supporting these programs on its own, and we can't just automatically start doing that. So we need federal legislators to also bridge this gap.
VOCA is funded entirely through fines and penalties paid by federal criminal offenders, so fewer prosecutions means fewer dollars. Ucker-Lauderman thinks funding for victim services needs to be more diversified and include dedicated state and federal sources. Mary Sherman reporting.
And new research is revealing some policies and behaviors referred to as predatory by for-profit colleges in Michigan. Senior policy analyst with the Michigan League for Public Policy, Peter Rourke, says according to the group's findings, many for-profit schools have already been penalized for consumer protection violations.
Things such as deceiving students about their accreditation and internship opportunities, deceptive predatory tactics for borrowers, misrepresenting courses.
He adds that the research also found for-profit colleges tend to recruit students who are economically vulnerable. Finally, our Suzanne Potter tells us that the states of California and Oregon are stepping in to revive a Klamath River Dam removal project that's been in the works now for a decade.
On Tuesday, the states announced a deal with the hydroelectric dam operator Pacific Corp and the nonprofit Klamath River Renewal Corporation to remove the Iron Gate, Copco 1 and Copco 2 dams in California and the J.C. Boyle Dam in Oregon. Yurok Tribe Vice Chairman Frankie Myers says restoration of the river means restoration of their culture.
The health of the people and the health of the land are intertwined, and when the land is sick, when the river is sick, so are the people, and as the land gets better and heals itself, so will the people.
I'm Suzanne Potter.
The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, also called FERC, has to approve the deal. The $450 million project was financed through a water bond in California and a small consumer rate increase on electricity. This is Mike Clifford for Public News Service, member and listener supported, heard on radio stations across the nation, and viewed now on Free Speech TV.